Hi, my name is Ruthie Otero, and I have written, produced, and performed 4 one-person shows. My goal is to help you bring your story to life and help you share it with the world. I believe we all have a story to tell, so let's tell it. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to keep your audience from falling asleep. Now, the main way to keep your audience from falling asleep is by telling a good story. But you have to tell a good story in an engaging way. So I'm going to tell you 5 ways to keep your story engaging. So the first thing is to write about something that's important to you. It's always really important that our audience is entertained. But if you know why you're writing the story and why it matters to you, somehow it'll matter to the audience. They'll get that. For example, if you're going to write about your crazy job and your crazy boss, that's great, but maybe your story is really about learning how to stand up for yourself, or how you found love in an unlikely place, or maybe why it's really important to follow your dream. That way, it's not just entertaining, it'll have a little more substance, and the audience won't know why they're more engaged, but they just will be. The second point is give your story some emotion. What I mean by that, I don't need you to cry all over the stage, but it's good to know why you feel the way you feel about your boss or about your family or about what's going on. Just telling us the details of the story is kind of like being a journalist, and we want to know what it felt like to work with that crazy boss, what it felt like to fall in love. Now, an example of making your story emotional is, let's just say you're doing a story about Little Red Riding Hood, and you're red. Now I'd like to know, how do you feel about having to go over to your grandmother's house to bring her some lunch? Do you love her? Does she annoy you? The wolf, is he feeling lonely, a little depressed or bored, and that's why he wants, he sees Little Red Riding Hood, he's like, oh good, I'm gonna have some fun. And the grandmother, how is she feeling? It's just always much more interesting to know the person's your character's point of view. Again, not just the facts, but how they feel about it. Now, the third point to keep your audience engaged is for you not to be afraid of looking bad. Now, what I mean by that is, a lot of times I used to think about like, oh my God, I have this feeling. I don't want people to think that I'm angry or jealous or envious. Think about not being afraid of having the 7 deadly sins. We all want to look good, we all want to look nice, but it's really boring to watch a very perfect person on stage or in a movie. And the audience isn't perfect, and they're always walking around trying to look good. So when you're up there and you're willing to expose yourself and be vulnerable and show the not so pretty sides of yourself, it's just automatically interesting. And the audience lives vicariously through you because they feel like, oh, I do that too. Oh my gosh, and they don't think of you. They see themselves and their humanity, and that is very, very engaging. Now, the fourth point is really fun. It's about playing different characters. Let's face it, it's a one-person show. We know there's only one person on stage, but the audience goes into the theater willing to suspend their disbelief. And if you transform into a brand new person, they will love it and they'll believe it, because it's a lot more fun for you, because you're not just being yourself the whole time telling the story, but to actually transform into someone else. And instead of just describing what's going on in the scene, you can show them what's happening in the scene by becoming the character. So let's go back to the Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, I'll be over, I'll bring a basket of food, play the grandma. Okay, honey, thank you so much. And that's so much more fun than just like, a Little Red Riding Hood spoke to her grandmother, and the grandmother said, I'm looking forward to seeing you. And the audience just feels like there are at least 2 or 3 people on stage. All right, so the 5th way to keep your audience from falling asleep is to add variety. So I'm sure you have more talents than just telling a story, right? You can add dancing, singing, poetry, play an instrument. Any other talent that you may have is a great way to break up what's going on in the show. Now, I don't mean that you totally divert the show. It's not like an intermission or anything, but it's another way that you can use to tell the story. So let's go back to Little Red Riding Hood. Maybe Little Red Riding Hood can talk about how she feels about having to go see her grandmother by singing a song in the woods. And then maybe we can show that the wolf is bored and he's so excited to have like Little Red come into his life, he decides to do like magic tricks to like seduce her into hanging out with him a little longer. And then maybe it would be really funny to see Grandma waiting for Little Red while doing an Irish jig or something. It's it's entertaining, but also has to do with the story and moving it forward. And honestly, it's a way for you to showcase other talents that you have, and the variety is really what keeps the audience like, oh, other things are happening here. We're not just going to hear someone talk and talk and talk for an hour. And it's just fun, you know, kind of like having a meal with lots of different flavors. And if it's fun for you, it's fun for the audience. So to recap the 5 tips, write something that's important to you. Make it emotional. Don't be afraid of looking bad. Play different characters and add variety to your performance. And if you do these things, you are well on your way to making your audience say, wow. I'm Ruthie Otero from myonepersonshow.com. Remember, don't let fear stop you from telling your story.